Prop 19 is about residential property tax and was put on the ballot by the state legislature. And the question to voters is, should the rules for transferring property tax assessments be changed? So property tax is determined by multiplying the assessed value of a property by the property tax rate. And each time the property is sold, the assessed value becomes the purchase price of the property. So the property tax rate cannot exceed 1% of the purchase price, with an annual adjustment to the rate of inflation at no more than 2% a year. Property values in California have increased at an average of about 8% a year over the last 40 years. So if a property was not sold for many years, the tax rate would be much lower than the same property if it was sold last year, for example. So there are several ways that a property's assessed value or tax value can be transferred without triggering a reassessment. One is if the property owner's is over 55 and purchases a different home, they can then transfer the assessed value of their old home to the new one, as long as the new one is not as expensive, is valued less on the market than their old home, and is also in the same county as the old home. A second way you could transfer your old assessment is if you lose your house to a natural disaster, a wildfire, you are allowed to transfer the assessed value of the house that you lost to the replacement house that you purchase. A third way is if the property is valued less than $1 million, instead of selling, parents can transfer residences, vacation homes, business property to their children without reassessment to market value. So about 70,000 inherited properties are not reassessed each year. And in the 2015-16 fiscal year, this parent-child exclusion reduced statewide property taxes by about 2.5%. Okay, so Prop 19 proposes a half dozen changes. I'm going to present them to you in a list of 6 changes. Property owners over 55 can transfer the assessed value of their homes to a new home in the state. Okay, so they're no longer limited to just one county. Property owners 55 or older who purchase a more expensive house will only be reassessed on the difference of the sale price of the old one and the purchase price of the new one. So if there's only $100,000 difference between the old and new value of the purchase price and the sale price, they'll carry the old assessed value and just have the $100,000 added onto it. Number 3, people over 55 or with severe disabilities can transfer their tax assessments 3 times. Instead of being limited to only do it once like they are today. 4, inherited homes that are not used as a principal residence, like as a vacation home that you only go to occasionally or to rent, or if you rent it out, they will be assessed at market value at the time that the transfer occurred, the inheritance or the transfer occurred. Number 5, beginning in February 2023, the taxable value of an inherited principal residence and farm property that has a market value above $1 million will be adjusted each year according to the California House Price Index. And then also, finally, funds generated from this measure will go to welfare agencies and counties. So the fiscal effects are an increase to local governments in the state of about tens of millions of dollars for property tax revenue per year, and most of that will be spent on fire protection. So yes vote means you want to expand the ability of people over 55 disabled or who have lost their homes in a natural disaster to be able to transfer their assessed value to a new home. And you want to limit property tax benefits for inherited property that's not used as a principal residence. A no vote means you don't support any of these changes to the current residential property tax law. So support for Prop 19 has collected $36 million. 35 of that is from realtor associations, and the rest is from firefighting unions. And people who support Prop 19 say longtime property owners are discouraged from moving even when they find a smaller home, because they know they'll pay more in property tax. And so this leaves empty nesters sitting in these big houses that could be sold to young families. And then they also say this stops the tax break for people collecting income on inherited rental property. People against Prop 19 have donated $45,000, and people who oppose it say it creates an even bigger tax break for longtime property owners and is unfair to people who don't yet own a home.